Hey everybody, it's Noah, and I'm back again with another deck profile. So today I wanted to focus on a deck that's a personal favorite of mine. I've been playing this deck since the card came out. So this is Shirayuki. I've been trying to make this its own deck forever, and now that we have the clan selection support, it actually can be. And honestly, I did really well with it, even when it was just Shirayuki, because I think it's just a really good card. I think it's low-key one of the best cards that V-Series got. Obviously, it had to get restricted for a time being because it was too good. And I think it's just a solid card that is really hard to deal with. I mean, when we talk about power creeps and things like that, I mean, this is essentially either shutting down a defensive trigger on its own or giving your units basically trigger power by minusing the Vanguard by 10,000. So this deck just kind of takes that to the next level, and I really was excited when I saw the support coming out. If you watched our Clan Selection Plus Volume 1 discussion video that we did, I mentioned that I think it's some of the best design mechanics that they've done, and I think it was a really complicated mechanic to make sure that it doesn't get too broken, but I think they handled it really, really well with the clan selection support. So I want to get into this deck and just explain my choices. I think there's also some room for your own personal taste or text, which I think is always really cool. It's not super locked in, like you have to play these exact cards or the deck won't be optimal. I think there's actually room where you can mess around with the list. So let's get into this. So for the grade ones, just to start off simple, this is just your grade 3 searcher, nothing too complicated. You want to see your Shirayuki. This is just another way to get there. You're probably going to have at some point 2 or more units with the same card name, so he'll get his plus 5,000. So that's really nice too. He makes a really good booster or attacker, honestly. So the first Shirayuki card I want to discuss is this one, and this should be pretty familiar. This is just your Shirayuki support card that has been running decks since Murakumo came out with the Shirayuki support. Basically, when any unit's attack doesn't hit, you put this unit into the soul and return a Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki from your drop zone to your hand. So it's just cycling. And then since the grade 3, the new one we just got, also acts as the Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki when it's in the drop zone. You can target that too, so it just helps cycle everything. Plus the fact that she goes into the soul is really good because, yeah, this deck does soul blast a lot, so you want to make sure you're aware of that. Then some new Shirayuki support we got. Apprentice Apparition Sasemiyuki. So her skill is she has 2. She has 1 on Vanguard. When placed, you look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 card with Shirayuki and its card name from among them, put it into your hand and shuffle your deck. It's just really good. It's very free, just a free plus. You will most likely hit a Shirayuki. You're running 8, so you should see one. And then her second skill is on rearguard once per turn. When your Vanguard with Shirayuki and its card name is placed, you can soul charge 1. So just again, it's another soul charge engine, really important for this deck, like I said. The thing with her is it's not once per turn for all units with a name. Like some of those cards, for example, we saw in the Ange deck that there was some that you can only activate once per turn per name. This is not that. This is just once per turn per card. So if you have 2 out, you can get 2 soul charges, which is really nice. And then here's an example of a tech card I put in. I'm finding it kind of fun. This is Flute Blowing Stealth Rogue Kadogu. His skill is on rearguard. At the end of the battle, it boosted a grade 2 or greater rearguard. You counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as the unit this unit boosted. Call it to open rearguard and shuffle your deck. So you got to make sure it's open rearguard. You can't call over a unit. So you kind of have to plan for it. But it's another just unit that can call things out to combo with Shirayuki. You can call a Shirayuki if you want and get another Shirayuki skill. It's kind of fun. It's some mid battle phase mechanics that you can use during your battle phase, which I think is always fun. And you really don't counterblast too much in this deck, I noticed. So that 1 counterblast is pretty much always available. So I just found it fun to tech in. Obviously you can make decisions on where you want to place these extra cards, but this is one I found that was pretty fun. So moving on to grade 2s. So again, a familiar face, This is Stealth Fiend Jokotsu Girl. So her skill is auto on rearguard. When this attack does not hit, you look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 2 Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki from among them, put 1 to your hand, 1 to your drop zone, shuffle your deck, and if you did not reveal any cards, use Soul Charge 1. So again, be mindful, this is only on rearguard, so if it's Vanguard and it doesn't hit, it will not do anything. And it's only for when this attack does not hit. Some of the other cards are when an attack does not hit or when a unit's attack does not hit. This is specifically this unit. So just make sure you're reading your cards well, because sometimes people misplay and they don't, because they're not reading those small little details. So just pay attention to that, because there is some difference between the cards. But this card's really good. I mean, again, you'll probably see your Shirayuki, again, your new Shirayuki also counts as Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki when it's in the deck. So similarly, how it operates the same way when it's in the drop zone, deck or drop zone, it's going to have that name. So that will be a target for Jokotsu Girl. So again, just a great card. You can search it out, or if you need the Soul Charge, you can get the Soul Charge. So a new grade 2 we have that supports the Shirayuki archetype is Ice Fang Princess Tsurarahime. And her skill, again, she, like the new grade 1, has a Vanguard and a Rearguard ability. So her Vanguard ability is, when placed, you may call a card with Shirayuki and its card name from your hand to Rearguard circle. If you called a card at the end of that turn, you return the Rearguard called with this effect to your hand, and if your soul has 1 or less cards, you Soul Charge 1. So with that skill, you can basically call your Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki to Rearguard circle, use its skill, Soul Blast 2, get the minus on the Vanguard, push for a good rush turn, and then you bounce that Shirayuki back and then Soul Charge 1, because you probably won't have more than 1 in Soul after you do that if you're doing it on your grade 2 ride. So again, it's just a nice little pressure card if you ride her as Vanguard. And then her second skill on Rearguard, at the end of your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Shirayuki and its card name, you put this unit into your soul, return a normal unit from your Rearguard to your hand. So again, it just charges a soul, because we need soul in this deck, and then you can bounce back things to your hand, any normal unit. So that could be a Shirayuki. You can set your turn up so that way you can, for example, if you used it aggressively, the Shirayuki skill, you can then use it passively or defensively. When your opponent's attacking, you basically can set up for that. So again, you have to be mindful of your soul. That's the one thing you have to be aware of with this deck that I've noticed. You don't have like copious amounts of soul available at all times, so you really want to be mindful that you're using your skills appropriately. Sometimes you don't want to do her Vanguard skill, honestly, if you don't really feel the need to push. Or if you don't really have a great setup, but so don't just always take that option, because you want to make sure you're being mindful of your soul, because the grade 3 turn is really nuts when you get to combo with Shirayuki. And then the last grade 2 that I'm running in this deck, and this is where you can really put whatever you want, but I've been playing around and I quite like this. This is Stealth Rogue of No Masks Awazu. This is also used in Yasui. But its skill is on Rearguard. When placed, search your deck for 1 card, put it into your drop zone, shuffle your deck, and this unit gets that card's name until the end of the turn. So I just like him in here for just in case you're not seeing Shirayuki for some crazy reason. I mean, there's plenty of ways to search it, so I don't think you'll have that problem. But, those weird games where you just aren't seeing your pieces, this is just another way to make sure you get your Shirayuki to the drop zone. Because when we see what the new grade 3 does, you're going to really want to make sure you can get that combo off. So having Shirayuki in the drop zone is pretty important. So I like this card for that reason. You can just ensure that Shirayuki goes to the drop zone. It helps thin the deck a little bit. I mean, it's probably negligible in the long run, but it's nice to just have that thinning. And yeah, I mean, you can run a lot of other cards in this spot. There's a new grade 2 that just came out. You can throw that in here if you wanted to. You have Fushimi, that's another one you can throw in. I've seen a lot of different lists with a lot of different cards. I personally like this just because as I said in the Ange deck profile, like I really enjoy consistency, and this just makes sure that I'm gonna get my combo off, and that's really important to me. All right, moving on to the grade 3s. So let's start with the familiar Shirayuki. This is Fantasy Petalstorm Shirayuki, and if you don't know what she does, on Vanguard, Rearguard, or Guardian Circle, when placed, you Soul Blast 2, you choose 3 of your opponent's front row, and they get minus 5,000 at the end of the turn, and if this unit is on Vanguard or Guardian Circle, they get minus 10,000. So that's obviously insane and a really great skill. And then also on Vanguard, when its attack does not hit, you return a Fantasy Petalstorm Shirayuki from your drop zone to your hand. So again, when its attack does not hit, not when a unit's attack does not hit, like our grade 1. So yeah, we should all be familiar with this card at this point. It's really strong. It's still the key card of the deck. Honestly, the rest of the deck just works around it. So yeah, so this is pretty familiar. So now for the new Shirayuki, this is 6 Flowers of Phantasms Shirayuki. It has a continuous skill, deck or drop zone. As I explained, this card is also regarded as Fantasy Petalstorm Shirayuki. So if you are searching for Fantasy Petalstorm Shirayuki, you could also search for this card. Its auto ability on Guardian Circle when placed, you can Soul Blast 2, choose one of your opponent's front row units, and it gets minus 30,000 at the end of that battle. Pretty crazy, pretty nuts. If you think about it, comparing it to the other Shirayuki, this Shirayuki is minusing 1 unit 30k, this unit is minusing 3 units 10k, so it still equals the same amount, it's just spread out differently. So, but again, that's basically like dropping a crit sentinel without dropping a crit sentinel, so it's kind of awesome. But the main skill is the 3rd skill, and this is Vanguard or Rearguard once per turn. When your unit's attack does not hit, if you have a Vanguard with Shirayuki in its card name, you counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's front row units, it gets minus 10,000 at the end of the turn, and if this unit is on Vanguard, you can call a card with Shirayuki in its card name from your drop zone to an open rearguard circle. So again, make sure you're paying attention to that open rearguard circle. You're not calling over units, that would be amazing, but that's not what it is. But the skill is really cool because basically you're going to swing with this unit, and then when it doesn't hit, and again, when any unit's attack doesn't hit, this is similar to the grade 1. It doesn't have to just be this unit. If they guard against your Vanguard attack, then you can proc the skill and you will counterblast, bring the Shirayuki back from the drop zone. So the Vanguard will be minus 10k, and then if you proc this Shirayuki skill from calling it, it'll be another 5k. So assuming you haven't played any other Shirayuki this turn, that'll be minus 15k to the Vanguard, which is insane. I mean, honestly, because again, this is an Excel deck, so you're gonna have multiple attacks. And when I get to my trigger lineup, you'll see that makes just makes things really difficult for the opponent when it comes to guarding. And they might make the mistake of not guarding early because they don't want to take the skills of the grade 2 Jikotsu girl. So again, her skill was, just a reminder, if the attack doesn't hit, you can search for Shirayukis. So they might let those hit because they don't want you searching for Shirayuki, but then they're just at more damage when you get to your Shirayuki anyway, and then guarding is going to be a real pain because they're going to be minused, and if they can't take damage, then they're going to really be in trouble. I mean, if they're at 4 damage, they're still in like a really dangerous spot because one trigger will still make them minus 5k. So it's not like something where you can kind of just rely on a trigger to save you or even bring you back to normal. One trigger won't do it. So yeah, so it's just a really interesting deck, a really good combo deck, pretty straightforward. There's not much more to explain other than that. Everything is kind of in service of Shirayuki, which I enjoy because it makes the deck really feel like a Shirayuki deck. You know, sometimes you get these sub-clan decks that are just kind of afterthoughts, it feels like, or it feels like they're kind of just a couple of cards that support it, but the rest of the deck doesn't really feel like it's supporting it. It kind of feels like it's forced to support it, whereas this deck I think really is amazing in the fact that everything very obviously supports Shirayuki, so it makes you really feel like you're playing a Shirayuki deck. So really quickly, I'll go over the triggers. This is pretty straightforward. You're going to run your 4 heal, and you're definitely going to want to run your draw PGs. You're going to want to draw, you want your pieces of your combo, you want cards so you can call a big field, and then just having the perfect guard is always nice. And then actually I'm running 8 front triggers. You can play around with this and see what works for you. I like the fronts because you're already minusing the opponent's Vanguard 15k, and then if you're hitting fronts and you have a big board, that's just, the numbers are just insurmountable, and you just want to get a lot of little attacks in as opposed to just one attack that's, critting or something. So I like this idea of the fronts, and it seems that most decks I've seen, most deck lists I've seen anyway, for this deck do run 8 front. I haven't seen too many. Actually, I don't think I've seen any with crits. I think I've seen some with 6 front, 6 draw, but I don't think that's really necessary either. But yeah, so I think fronts are the way to go. It just adds to the oppression of your grade 3 turn. So this deck is, like I said, not too complicated. It's pretty straightforward. It is really just about getting your Shirayuki pieces together and then comboing your new Shirayuki with the old school Shirayuki, and just minusing the Vanguard and swinging for a lot of attacks. And they don't even have to be particularly strong because the Vanguard is already weakened for you. So yeah, so that's pretty much it for this deck profile. If you guys enjoyed it, please give it a like, and we are a new channel, so please subscribe if you enjoy our content. We do upload twice a week. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you have any different builds or different comments on the list, please leave them in the comment section below. We will definitely get back to you on that. So that's it for today, and I hope you guys all have a good week, and we will see you later. Bye.